sassy, a little bit crazy, a little bit classy. We got dreams and we got goals. We're just a couple of old sassholes.
Hello.
Oh, hi.
Hi.
Hey.
Hello. I had to go low.
Hello. Hi, everyone. Welcome to A Couple of Sassholes podcast. I'm Brooklyn Maple.
And I am Heather Terry.
And this is our hour and or more or less podcast on true crime and culty stuff and things that make you sad, but then also make you grateful that it didn't happen to you or a loved one, but then also more vigilant.
That's right.
That's
our elevator pitch.
Yeah, it's beautiful and swell.
You know what else is beautiful and swell?
What?
The article that was sent to us about us.
Oh, I was like, was there a different article? There was like a moment where I was like, wait, is this not what we were just talking about?
Yeah. Our friend is a professor at the Community and Technical College here in Owensboro.
Which makes us just sound cool that our friend is.
Our friend's a professor. No big deal. Brag.
Yes. Are we allowed to say her name?
Yeah, Greg Greer.
Yeah. And she also has the best name in the world. I'm not going to have children, but if I was going to have a child.
That's a good one.
100%. Their name would have been Gray.
That's a good one.
And spelled exactly like her.
Yeah. So they had an assignment about local media, and the Sassholes made the list. And one of our students chose us. And we
Can you believe that?
May or may not have freaked out.
I think we're so lucky that like we know Gray and that she sent it to us. But it was probably one of the coolest things ever because they're intelligent students that are actually like. The writer who I believe it was a she.
Yes, it was.
Okay, I was
she
like,
told
we didn't get her name.
She said she wrote about you, and I said, well, she better get an A.
Yeah,
and she said she did.
Well, I would love to call out her name, but we don't know her name.
Her name is Sweet Baby Angel Face
from OCTC.
Yes.
But I don't know. It was just really awesome to hear someone like highlight things that we do. Mm-hmm. I know there was a moment where I was talking about drugs and doing drugs back in Miami, and how it wasn't that I was promoting drug use. It was, this is the mental kind of journey that I went on whenever I had tried drugs. So I'm happy that people aren't thinking I'm over here like, let's do blow.
Yeah, that
Go
won't
get me on a saucy Friday night. No, oh my God. I think my body would die if I did cocaine now. That is a young man's sport.
You're like, I had a beer. Should I not take this ibuprofen now?
Oh my God. I have totally said that.
I know.
That is not even a question. I'm like, I don't know if my liver can take.
But I've been drinking.
Is it acetophamin or is it, what can we not? It's Tylenol.
Yes.
FYI, it's Tylenol.
There you go.
Anyway, thank you, Sweet Baby Angel Face.
Yeah. She said that you had a Miley Cyrus-esque, something like that voice. And then mine was like Drew Barrymore. And I just have a disdain for Drew Barrymore.
I hate Miley Cyrus too. I think it's so funny. I am flattered too. Mm-hmm. Because I've always known that I have a huskier voice for a female. Like, I'm very aware of that. You cannot not be aware of that and then be on TV and be on radio and not know that your voice is not a higher pitched voice. So if I was going to have to be Miley's, I'll fucking be Miley's all day long.
Yeah. Drew she just drives me nuts. But
who else was it, Drew and someone else?
Drew, an LA Valley girl or something.
You were a sweet cup of tea with her accent.
Something about like sitting around grandma's table. Yeah, and listening to a story or something, which I loved. So yeah, it was delightful. So thank you.
It was a treat. Thank you for thinking of us.
Female. Hopefully Gray hears this and tells us what your name is.
Right. Anywho, we appreciate you.
Yeah.
Is there anything else going on, Heather?
There is. So I can't get over the fact that I need you to repeat the story about the youth and their words. I need you to tell the story.
What are you talking about?
I don't want to say it right now. Look, read that note.
I was like, I was like,
I need
what
you to
the
tell
fuck
this
is
word
she talking about?
Because the youth says words I don't always
if there
understand.
Was a hidden camera in here, they would have seen me look like I was a deer in headlights. I was like, I don't know shit about any youth. I have no fucking story about youth.
Yeah.
And I guess it's because I forget that as a 36-year-old female, that youth is now in your 20s.
Yeah.
But no, I had a meeting and we were going through a task list, not a list. I don't know what a list is, but a task list. And she goes, all right, well, then I think we're Gucci Bone. And I was like, what?
I can't get over it.
What? And we need D'Angelo back. One of our coworkers who kept us fucking
He would explain if things were good or bad.
Yeah, and we would know things.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, Gucci bone. I hate
bone.
that.
You hate it.
I do not care for that.
I don't.
It makes me think of the emoji that has the bone and the meat that you send me a lot.
Yeah.
And I don't know why you send me that, but you do send me that.
I sent you that one time when I said Gucci bone as to be funny, and you just wrote gross. And I was like, it was a funny joke. But okay.
I probably laughed, but I was just like, gross at that fucking statement. I don't know. I feel like we're aging out of the system somehow, and I'm not even ready for it.
You're not ready?
No. She wasn't ready.
Well,
I am ready for the lower back pain because for whatever reason I'm in a really high chair. Like we are at a high experience.
Yeah, I mean,
and my leg is on the table, which means I am in the heavens.
Yeah, your ears probably popped when you got in that chair.
I can't even lie though. I'm so fucking comfortable. I guarantee like my right hip will hurt later, but everything's fine.
Everything's Gucci bone.
Are we doing stories today?
I think we're doing stories today because I'm going to save the other one for next time.
I don't know what the other one is, but I will also say too, I had my Christmas gathering this weekend. And for anyone who has ever wondered if it's worth taking the like butcher paper and putting it across the table and fucking making a grazing statione, that's what I called it, the grazing station. It is well worth it and you should do it.
Yeah, it looks great too.
Thank you.
It looks awesome.
I was like, Heather's taking notes, so she just like, I lost her in the podcast.
No.
But no, if you have thought about it, do it. It was so much easier, and the cleanup was a snap, but also had a great time. Good times.
Yeah, it was definitely fun. We dressed up like Mr. and Mrs. Claus.
I know. I was like, Heather didn't tell me what she was going to wear, and I was like, I'm going to wear the same dress that I've worn 16 times this season because I saved up 16 paychecks for it. And Heather was like, I'm not going to tell you. And then I always ask her to come a little bit earlier because duh. And she was at like the front door and the glass door. And I was like, oh my God, Heather came as Mrs. Claus. Oh my God. Oh my God. And she was like, will you come to the door? And I was like, yes, Mrs. Claus. Yes. And then Santa. William was Santa.
Yes.
And it was a childhood dream. It was my Christmas gathering. And I had fucking Mr. and Mrs. Claus. There's nothing better than that. There's nothing more satisfying than that. There's nothing more fantabulous than having Mr. and Mrs. Claus themselves. Yeah, you guys would be good doing that in a different environment too.
Like paid?
Yes.
Okay. Well, we will do that. I love that when we were on our way there, Will looked at me and goes, oh God, drunk people are going to want to sit on my lap, aren't they? I said, yep, part of the gig. And he's like, I didn't think about that till right now.
Sitting on his lap.
Yeah, you happy cried, and that made me happy. That was the reaction I was looking for.
That was very exciting.
I was
very excited.
It was like the real Santa showed up.
Because I am cheesy and I don't fucking care, man.
Lean in.
It made me happier than fucking, I don't know, something happy. Than a dog seeing their owner after a long day of work.
Like one of those videos where they reunite after the military.
Exactly.
God, those make me cry every time.
Because
the dogs don't know.
The dogs are sweet nuggets.
I know.
Speaking
Are you going
of
first?
nugget,
You ready to go?
Mine's shorter than yours, so I'm cool with being someone's quick shot of water. A little sippy sip before they get to the
quick shot of water.
Quick shot.
Is that what you're going to take? Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, banter wall. I'll vamp. Okay, done.
Okay. I guess I'll sit in a way that is better for me telling a sad story. Big claps to the Skeleton Key Chronicles. They wrote about this and they really did a beautiful job. You can tell some time and effort was put into that, which is always nice to see a story recreated where someone took the time to write it beautifully and eloquently. So big shout out to the Skeleton Key Chronicles. There was also an article in the public library. I also read a little bit from Crime and Consequences. For the most part, though, I took some from an old newspaper article, too. This actually came from Travis because it's a murder from Muhlenberg County in Greenville, Kentucky in the 90s. And he remembers every single thing about it. Obviously, because Muhlenberg County is only 30,000 people. Owensboro
and that's where he grew up, right?
Yeah, and that's where we're getting married.
Yeah.
We're literally getting married in Greenville. It's so small, but Owensboro has 60,000 people. So I don't even know if I would have realized that 30,000 and It's literally half the size. It's just more rural everything.
Yeah, we think about it though, like Davis County collectively, it's like over 100,000. That's like probably where my head's at. So it's to think about like the county, and then
you're right,
as opposed to that. Still,
you're totally right.
You know, a lot of rural king.
Rural. This one's also going to go by like 2 shakes of a lamb's tail, real fast. And it's one of those like wild stories that you're just like, wow, you got away with it for 7 minutes. That's about it. Mm-hmm. Other than that, it's just fucking sadness. So that's all I really have. I'm going to dive in. So it is January 25th in 1997. We're in Muhlenberg County, as I mentioned. We have a super cute girl named Sarah Hansen. I don't know. Do you remember this one?
No, it's not the one I was talking about on American Monster.
No.
And I thought the whole time
we watched the one on American Monster, and I was like, and Travis goes, this one sucks because that American Monster did one in Muhlenberg County where a family was essentially murdered, and it was less than a mile from his parents' house.
Oh, wow.
So it was really close to him. And he was like, I remember that one, but this one was the one that stood out to him. So anyway, she is loved by all. She's kind and caring. The key moment here is, yes, she did indeed light up a room and had a very promising life before her. She was a popular student at Muhlenberg South High School, active in her church youth group. She was a member of the National Honor Society, a popular cheerleader, and a band member. And she was like really happy-go-lucky. In the small town of Greenville, Kentucky, as we had already talked about, it's a really cold night. I mean, January 25th, fuck that shit.
Yeah.
I'm going to avoid getting outside if I can. But she decides that she's going to run and take her dad's 1990 GMC Safari van. And she heads to a local convenience store to choke.
Whoa.
Woo!
Man.
That's what happens when you eat six handfuls of popcorn right before you record. And that was like a popcorn kernel.
Oh, man.
That's currently right here in the back of my throat. No.
You got it?
We'll find out. I will probably come back around for a second.
Fly out and shoot on my glasses.
Oh. She decided to run to a local convenience store and she's going to rent a video. So 90s.
Safari van in a VHS rental place.
Yes. Huh? Yeah. Dreams. Like it was 90s. The Minute Mart where she ended up going. But real quick, she left her home on Hopkinsville Street at about 7:30 p.m. She drove to the Minute Mart at 349 North Main Street, which was literally just around the corner. And what I read was that she was going to watch a movie with her boyfriend. She ran inside the store, checking out her movie for the night, and then headed back to her van and disappeared.
What?
Yeah.
That's sad.
As I mentioned, the size there was a very small town. So another reason probably why things happened and just really happened so fast. Mm-hmm. When she didn't return home, her parents became nervous. They started making calls, trying to figure out where she might have gone. This was not the time for all those young listeners, the youth. We did not have cell phones back then. Or we may have had the one that you played Snake on. I don't remember.
The Motorola bricks.
Right. When no one heard from her, they got in the car and they headed to the mini mart themselves. They talked to the clerk that was there and they were able to check her rental receipt. So I think that was really nice that whoever was working there actually gave a damn and pulled up the rental receipt, and they saw that she had signed the slip shortly after she arrived, which means it's almost 10 o'clock now. And it was 7:30 and she's gone. Yeah. She'd now been missing for a couple of hours. Her parents called the Greenville Police Department, and in less than an hour, they found her body.
Oh, gosh.
It was 10:50 p.m. when authorities spotted the van parked near a gravel boat ramp on the east side of Lake Luzerne, which is over a mile from the Minute Mark. The whole reason that that Travis had brought up to me is I was like, why? We've got to stop at that lake. I love that lake. We drive by it every time we go to his parents' house. I'm like, it's so beautiful. And it's like right off the street. So it's like an easy access point. And I was like, we've got to go there. And whenever I was looking her up, he was like, yeah, her body was found at that lake you like. And I'm like,
oh, man.
Yeah, we haven't gone there before. And now I'm like, well, shit. Officers ended up following a 500-foot long blood trail.
Oh, God.
From the van to the water's edge. And that's where they found Sarah Hansen's partially clothed body floating in the shallow water next to the lake's dam. And it's, frigid temperatures.
Oh, no.
Her throat was slashed. The coroner would later determine that the sharp-edged weapon used in the crime was a box cutter.
Damn.
The poor thing had also been raped.
Oh.
Now, I found in the case law website that her throat had been slashed twice, with each cut approximately 3.5 to 4 inches long. Her windpipe was completely severed. She actually died of drowning.
Oh, that's so terrible.
So I found that, and no other thing that I found. I just happened to click through the case law details and found that. So like no one really ever mentioned that it wasn't like she didn't
cut.
It wasn't the cut. It was her drowning in the water.
Oh, that's
which
terrible.
Means that I guess essentially just the water filled her lungs faster. And I'm sure the shock of the cold temperatures.
Yeah.
But how terrible. How utterly terrible. By the following morning, obviously everyone had found out about it. It was huge news, and she was a beloved teenage girl. With that, the entire county began to mourn the loss of her. More than 1,000 people showed up at her funeral.
Wow.
And the community instantly came together. They were very supportive of her parents. Lots of focus on that. In the matter of days, like just days, DNA fingerprints found inside the van and even a footprint at the lake's edge where her body was found would answer the question on who the fuck did this.
Who did it? I need to know.
Well, it was, but as I mentioned, it was one of the speediest things I can think of. It took them hours to find her body. Like once they realized she was missing, they found her within 1 hour.
Yeah, that's wild.
Which means they just the parents went directly to the Minute Mart. If they would have driven just a little bit further, they would have been able to find her. But thank goodness it was the cops and not the parents. The stupid fuck, his name was Robert Keith Woodall, and he was only 22 years old. Now, a Greenville local, of course, and he had a reputation. Are you ready for this? A reputation.
Oh, God.
For being obsessed with sex and a penchant for predatory behavior. How you have a reputation for that?
That's what I was going to say. What did he do before that?
Well, let me tell you.
Oh, man.
At the time.
All right.
Wow.
Yeah. You've done this before.
This is not my first rodeo.
That's right.
At the time of her death, Woodall had been out of prison for just over a year. He had served 3.5 years of a 5-year sentence for the sexual assault of a 9-year-old girl.
Stop it. And he was how old?
22. He had done 3.5 years, so he was, 19 whenever he raped a 9-year-old, roughly.
What a piece of garbage.
Maybe 18. Released on February 20th of 96, you can see it didn't take him long to repeat and essentially escalate his behavior.
Yeah.
A dive into his records show 3 counts of sexual abuse against 3 other young girls prior to his sentencing for sexual assault of the 9-year-old. Those charges were dismissed because of the quality of the evidence, according to Muhlenberg Commonwealth's attorney David Jernigan. His original sentencing of the case had been back in front of several judges on appeal, citing everything from voir dire violations to assertions that his low IQ preludes him from a death sentence. For your reference, voir dire, I'm sure I'm saying that wrong, is a process that determines whether potential jurors are suitable for a trial. The goal is to ensure that jurors are unbiased and don't have biases that could affect the outcome of a case. So they're saying that the jury wasn't appropriate in the previous case.
They're just reaching for anything.
Well, they got him off, essentially. So basically, when he went to court for that 9-year-old, he had those other issues before, those 3 other counts, and they didn't put it into the court proceedings. And that is why he got out when he did. So he had already sexually assaulted 3 other young girls.
God.
And then raped a 9-year-old. And then still got out to then murder a 16-year-old.
That's so sad and fucking insane.
I think, too, what's amazing, too, is they're like, you can't get the death penalty because you're too stupid.
That's wild to me.
Yeah.
That's like...
Oh, and that's like a Kentucky thing. Probably because, Kentucky ain't known for having the brightest light bulbs, but whatever. While these arguments, so the whole saying that they didn't have the right jury and that he was too stupid, it was temporarily successful, but in the end, the U.S. Supreme Court, it went to the U.S. Supreme Court.
All the way to the top.
Yeah, they recommended reinstating the death sentence for Robert Woodall for the murder of 16-year-old Sarah Hansen.
Good.
Robert Keith Woodall currently sits on death row at Kentucky State Penitentiary. He is currently 49 years old.
He's still sitting there waiting. Flip the switch. Let's go. If he gets out, he's going to do the same shit.
100%.
That's not like...
See, that's the bullshit. This is the shit that pisses me the fuck off. Like, you will throw the book at somebody who got drunk and killed someone in a car accident. I'm not saying that is okay by any fucking means. But you're not going to throw the book on a grown man who has a desire to have sex with young children.
Yeah, and then
because those are children.
Yeah,
and then violently murder them.
Yeah, like in the States with the 3-strike law, like somebody gets caught with weed or something, like they can get more. It's just fucking insane.
You can get more time doing that. You can get more time for fucking anything anymore.
I know. Why is he still alive? Like,
because that's our, just so everyone understands, in the state of Kentucky, we're paying for his meals today. It's our money that is paying for his dinner.
Like, I don't understand.
Why we're keeping him alive is unbelievable to me.
Yeah. I mean, to each their own with their own opinion. That's just ours.
Yeah. Flip the fucking switch.
Because, like, prison is supposed to be for, like, reform. And I don't think there's any reforming that.
Agreed.
Like, there's no way.
And there's no question as to whether or not it was him.
Yeah.
There was also, I believe, it wasn't mentioned in what I wrote, but I'm pretty sure his, like, was found too.
I mean, I'm
in
sure.
The victim. So
fucking pervert.
Exactly.
All right.
So that was really, I'm grateful. There's nothing to be grateful for besides the fact that they found him quick and they found her body.
Yeah.
But everything else on that is just unbelievable.
Yeah.
And this is why any child pedophile case needs to be tried to the fullest extent. If there's no question as to whether or not that kid has a narcissistic personality disorder where they're just lying, throw the fucking book at them. And by book, I mean gun. Bullet at them. The bullet gun. The gun bullet.
They don't do that anymore, do they? The
firing squad?
Firing squad.
Not here. Yeah. I think it's still in another country.
I think they do it in one of, I'm sure. That sounds kind of like it's got Texas vibes.
Really? I was like, it feels very Europe to me.
Yeah.
Very Germany.
They still have chain gangs at one prison. I think it's in Texas.
What's a chain gang?
Where they chain them all together when they go outside and around. Like all of them. And they have to wear the stripes like they used to on the movies.
Whoa. Yeah. So they don't even get to like not be.
Yeah. They like sleep outside in the Texas heat. It's a thing.
Ooh.
Anyway, yeah.
Okay. Wow. Take him and do it. Also, what's kind of frustrating with him too is like I looked up his photo. He's a chubby monkey, but he has like, I'm gonna be honest, he has a nice face. Like he has a face in the smile of his most recent photo that you would truly possibly think he was a decent guy. Now the face of him premature, like back then, no.
Yeah.
But I'm like, fucking fuck, man. You never know.
You don't.
Once more. Everyone, please be vigilant.
Yeah.
Especially with headphones these days.
Yeah, that too.
Fucking pop it earbud out.
Speaking of you never know. You don't know about this one either. I stumbled upon this. Like just random watching my killing shows. So as I call them lovingly. And then I just came across this one. So my sources for this is a story of the murder of Sandra Cantu. Have you heard? No bells ringing? Okay. Wikipedia, The Daily Beast, Murderpedia, and an episode of See No Evil from January, which is where I saw it. Yeah. So Sandra Cantu was a sweet baby angel who was born on March 8th, 2001 to her mom, Maria Chavez. People said that she was like a little social butterfly and full of life. She was really goofy, rode her bike everywhere. Just people really loved this child. It was cute. They said she was always the first person to tell even strangers that she'd be like, "You look really pretty today," and like without being prompted to do so.
She would have been so fun drunk in a girl's restroom,
right?
As an adult, not a youth.
So we love Sandra. Her mom, Maria, her grandparents, and her 3 older siblings lived together at the Orchard Estates mobile home park in Tracy, California. 100 other residents lived there, and it was kind of like a little community. Maria always told the kids, like, hey, you can go play, just stay in the park. And Sandra knew literally everyone there. She would stop and see people even on her way home. So March 27th.
Where did March 8th go?
I know. Well, right.
You're like, it's my friend's birthday.
It's her birthday.
Oh, okay.
That's why it was stuck in my head. But so she had just turned 8. So March 27th, 2009 was the same as any other day for little Sandra.
Is she taken from the playground?
Just wait.
No, I want to interrupt you and get mad. I'm prematurely mad.
Oh, this whole story is going to piss you off. I had to do it in 2 parts because I got mad. She went to school that day. She walked home and she got home at 4 p.m. She's like, hey, Mom, I'm going to go to a friend's house and play. And her mom's like, cool, same thing, be home for dinner. Well, by 8 p.m. when she didn't come home, her mom got worried and they started calling around to a few friends' houses in the park and they hadn't seen her. She reported her to the cops and they got to work really quick. They canvassed the area and no one had seen her. First they thought, well, it might be her biological dad, because they were going through a child support dispute at the time, but his alibi checked out. And they searched everywhere, and they didn't come up with anything. So instead of like being territorial, they actually were smart, and they called the FBI. And they had a specialized missing children's team flown out there in 4 hours.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. You don't see this. What year was this?
This was 2009.
Nice.
Yeah.
Good
Apparently
stuff.
there's a team, and I didn't write down what it is, but there's an FBI team that they can get anywhere in the country within 4 hours, which I did not know. It's called like CART, I think. I don't know.
Good.
Yeah. So they were there and they interviewed everyone in the neighborhood, but Sandra knew everyone and she always helped out everyone. So it's not like they could find evidence of her being in a house, because you could explain that away, because she went in everybody's, trailers all the time. Their house was super close to a major highway also, so they were really nervous that someone, like, it connected to San Francisco.
Yeah.
So they were scared that it was just a crime of opportunity. They developed a suspect profile as a male who knew her and possibly lived there in the trailer park, and maybe even a sex offender. But sadly, the sex offender list didn't narrow it down, the suspect list, very far, because there were a lot of ex-cons as well and people on the registry that lived there. Mm-hmm. 2 men went to the top of the list. One dude was caught at a local swimming pool kissing Sandra on the mouth when she was 6. Like, not a relative. He said they brought him in and he was like, well, I have fantasies about young girls about ages 9 to 10, but I was just showing Sandra a harmless display of affection. That's a quote. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Nasty. Another dude drove an ice cream truck and he was lingering around, but the manager kicked him out of the park because he was being a creep. Like, he was lingering too long with the kids and the manager got creeped out and made him leave. Yeah. The first 24 to 72 hours of these cases, of course, are critical, and they were doing everything, but they were coming up short. So, like, roadblocks, helicopters, everything. 2 days in, and everybody was trying to help. And one of the calls came in was from a neighbor of Sandra, and that call said that a large Eddie Bauer suitcase was stolen from her driveway the same day, and it was around the same time that Sandra went missing. So they were like... So
she just had a suitcase in the driveway, like she was about to go on a trip?
Yeah, and they were like, okay, thanks. Like, just because it was around the same time and they didn't understand. They were just like, we'll mark it down.
Yeah.
People held a candlelight vigil for Sandra, and the FBI, of course, went to, like they do on TV, to, like, watch everybody. While there, a woman named Melissa Huckaby ran up to them screaming like a banshee that she found something near these mailboxes, and she was, like, visibly shaking and frantic. She pointed at a note on the ground, and it said, quote, Cantu locked in a stolen suitcase, thrown in water on N. Banchete Road and Whitewall Road, signed by witness. Now, words were spelled wrong so badly that it looked like really intentional.
Well, yeah.
Like, stolen was spelled STOLIN, and on had 2 N's in it. Like, it just looked like someone was trying to do that. The cops went to the pond where the note mentions, just in case, but it's no ordinary pond. It's like by a dairy farm, so it's used for sewage drainage. So it's not like divers could just hop in and see things. Then they're like, wait, who's this crazy note lady? So they dig into Melissa Huckaby, and guess who she is? The suitcase lady that called it in. And they're like, that's really weird. Because
That is so, what a weirdo.
I know. So she was a single mom of a 5-year-old and a family friend of the Cantus, like I said. Melissa's grandpa was the pastor where they all went to church, not the Cantus, but a lot of the people in the park went there. And Melissa was a Sunday school teacher. Melissa is like, I was acting crazy because somebody took my suitcase and the note said suitcase and it was large enough to fit a child. And they're like, okay, this is weird. So where were you? And she was like, oh, I was alone decorating my Sunday school room. And then they checked out. She said, I talked to the mobile home park manager and said my suitcase got stolen and it was around the same time and it was from the church. So it checked out.
Yeah.
They searched her car anyway. They're like, this is still, why does she keep talking about this fucking suitcase? And they found a blue Post-it with 3 words scribbled out. And then they looked at it and it said Bachete, white wall, and water. Like someone was practicing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So they got a search warrant for her house. And in the nightstand, they found a notebook with that paper from that damn note that she gave to them. And they're like, this is weird. This is all weird. 11 days into the investigation on April 6, 2009, they got a call from some workers who saw a floating suitcase in that pond. Yeah, they were smart and they left it alone.
Why did they wait 11? Why did they never check the pond?
They tried. They just couldn't go down in it. So I guess maybe it took a minute.
I know, but they can do like depth testing.
Yeah.
Like I can see if there's a school of fish on my boat. I feel pretty confident that you would see a raise and a drop.
I don't know.
Or they would just skim it.
Yeah. I don't know. They retrieved the suitcase, the cops did, and it was oddly heavy and it had thin white string tying it shut. And it smelled like death as soon as they got it out of the water. So they didn't open it there and they took it right to the examiners. Sadly, it was Sandra. They did an autopsy on her and the toxicology report showed that she'd been drugged with benzos. I didn't type it out all the way. That are depressants that produce sedation and hypnosis. So think like Xanax and Valium type of medication, which an 8-year-old's not going to take. Sandra's body didn't have any visible injuries besides a small scratch in her bottom lip, so they think she was knocked out or smothered. She'd been sexually assaulted with a foreign object and was redressed, so they thought it pointed to somebody that knew her and felt guilty about it. Everyone was so devastated when they announced that they'd found her. The cops identified the suitcase, and it was fucking Melissa Huckaby's.
Of course it was.
And they're like, fuck you, lady. Like, fuck you. They get pissed because it's like small community. They're pissed off now.
Well, at the end of the day, you had fucking notes. You obviously, like...
Yeah, I think they were making sure their ducks were all the way in a row just because of who she was. Like the pastor's daughter or whatever.
That doesn't fucking matter.
Yeah. And they go get Melissa and bring her in for a polygraph test, but they couldn't do it. And you want to know why? She was just admitted to the hospital and under supervision because she swallowed a shit ton of razor blades and tried to kill herself.
There's so many better ways to kill yourself than trying to act like you're a circus freak and can pull them shits back to your mouth.
Freak.
How do you even swallow? Anyway.
That's the first time I've ever heard of someone trying to do that.
She had benzopropylene, which I think is what benzos are. I think it's benzopropylene or something like that.
Yeah.
She could have just
pop
a bottle.
I don't think I've ever heard of anyone trying to do that. Like ever.
No.
And after speaking to some of Melissa's loved ones while waiting on her release, they figured out that she had a hidden dark side.
Oh, no, it's benzodiazepam or benzodiazepam.
Thank you.
I was wrong, so I
think I kept typing it out and I kept spelling it wrong, so I got mad and just wrote benzo.
But all it does is make you dizzy, slurred speech, muscle weakness, lightheaded, drowsy.
Yeah. So they figured out that she had that hidden dark side, and she had been diagnosed with depression and bipolar disorder and had been abusing her meds. In 2007, 2 years before this, she'd been suspected of 2 different arson cases, but she was never charged. 2 months before Sandra was killed, she'd been arrested for petty theft, which it's just so weird that she's a Sunday school teacher, right?
Yeah.
But that was the only formal charge on her record at the time, which is odd because 3 months before Sandra, one other parent of a child in the mobile home park claimed that Melissa took her daughter to a local park without her permission. And when she came back, she was acting loopy, could barely walk, slurred speech, and it was bad. And they took her immediately to the hospital, and she had benzo whatever in her system too, in her blood.
So number one, okay, I can see how things would derail because she was a female, number one. She was a female and a Sunday school teacher. Mm-hmm. Why the fuck you would ever think that she is then drugging little girls?
Right.
Because that's what the absolute fuck?
No charges were ever filed from this parent.
And
for
so
some
did
reason.
the kid never, I wonder too if I don't know if the kid didn't know that she had been drugged. If maybe it had been in water and she just drank a cup of water, and as a little kid, you don't know that you can consume a drug that way.
Yeah.
If they were like, how did you get the pill? And she's like, I don't know. Then maybe they would think maybe she found a pill and took it and didn't tell, because she was scared she was in trouble. Yeah.
Yeah, I get that.
Little kids put things in their mouth.
I never thought about that. I was going to ask you. I'm like, I don't know why there were no charges because
I can only assume that they would believe that the benzo got in her system at a different time,
or she couldn't say how it got
right.
there.
So
maybe.
How could she blame?
But could you imagine being that mom though? Because they lived in the same park, just knowing that they.
Well, you're thinking. The mom is thinking, but if she didn't charge, if she didn't file a complaint,
true.
Obviously it sounds like she doesn't believe she did it either.
You're so right. Fuck. I mean, it's hard to think. But why did you take my kid to the park without asking me?
Well, yeah, but if you're also oh, she's a Sunday school teacher and she wanted my daughter to play.
Yeah.
You know?
You're right. Yeah. I never thought about that
one. If she just wanted to hang out, dude, next time please don't do that.
Yeah.
And it's oh, my kid's loopy. What the fuck did she pick up at the park?
Oh, yeah. She probably could explain it away because you wouldn't think.
No, you would never think.
No.
You would never think. But I don't know, maybe she's sick or I don't know. But then I also ponder too, and I mean this with all respect, where I'm just also thinking if you're living in a trailer park, finances might not be the best. So maybe you didn't want to file any charges because there's going to require additional efforts.
I never thought about that too, financial investment.
Financially, if you're going to file something against someone, there's going to be some form of follow-up court costs or something. Assumption.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know either. Well, thanks, because I didn't unpack that. I was like, she'll tell me. So I appreciate it. Now, when the news broke of Sandra being found, a witness came forward and said, hey, my wife and I were going to dinner on March 27th, and we saw a small SUV parked with the passenger side door open, and it was by that pond. So he thought that was odd because it's a sewage pond. You're not fishing. What are you doing? And they pulled over, and Melissa jumped out the other side. And some things I read said that she said, oh, I really had to pee, and I pulled over. And he said that besides she being a little odd in general, she acted fine. So they just left. But they remember it still.
Yeah.
Now, since they placed her at the scene, they were able to get a warrant for the church where her grandfather was the pastor and she was a Sunday school teacher. They found thin white string, which was an exact match for the string that was used to tie the zippers on the suitcase. Those actually were used to hold the drapes open at the church. The same one.
She's not very bright. She is not bright at all.
She's also fucked. They found a rolling pin with a red smudge on one end on it in one of the cabinets in the church kitchen.
So she sexually assaulted her with a rolling pin, did not wash it, and put it back into the fucking cabinet is what you're telling me.
Mm-hmm. They thought, they were like, okay, good, we have her, but they needed to test the rolling pin, so they sent that off, but they tapped her cell phone because they have probable cause now, right? They're just waiting for that final stamp of approval to arrest her. The following day, which is 2 days after she got out of the hospital, Melissa called Maria, Sandra's mother, to ask if Sandra's sister could come play with her daughter. It wasn't public yet that Melissa was the main suspect. They kept that under wraps. So this mom, Sandra was best friends with this other little girl, could have sent her kid over there. And the cops heard this. And they're fuck. So they immediately sent a plainclothes detective over there to Melissa's house. They were like, just go. Just go knock on the door. So he went up there and knocked on the door, and he kind of looked around her. And when she answered, Sandra's sister thankfully was not there, because that's what their main goal was, to make sure she didn't do it again before they could arrest her for the first one.
It's amazing that she would think she would get away with it. Yeah. Enough to possibly do it that quickly
in
again.
The same family, too. Like, fucking asshole. Ugh. And then he was like, all right, cool, okay, cool. We need you to make a formal statement. When she got there to the police station, it turned into a 5-hour interrogation where they're like, all right, bitch, like, we know you did it. We know it was you. And she cracked. So she burst into tears, and she's like, oh, this is going to make you mad. It was all an accident, and she didn't kill Sandra. She just died. It was an accident. It was an accident. Think about how they found her. Are you fucking kidding me?
Well, that was just how her body...
Just wait. This is what her explanation was. This is going to make you want to flip a table. She said Sandra and her daughter were playing hide and seek, and Sandra hid in the suitcase, which, first of all, it was zipped up and tied shut. But anyway, that's what she said. Melissa forgot that Sandra was in the suitcase and put it in her car. She's an 8-year-old girl. You would not... You know what I mean? The weight. Yeah. Then she drove to the church with her inside. She went inside.
The girl never said anything.
Yeah, right.
She was just asleep.
Mm-hmm. Went inside. So Melissa goes inside, decorates her room, came back out, saw it, and was like, oh, I've made a terrible mistake. And she had already stopped breathing. This is what this bitch says. And then she says all this, and then she says, quote, then I killed her. So shut up. It was not an accident. The story's dumb.
Yeah.
Like, the cop was like, wait, did you say you killed her? And she's like, no, I tried giving her CPR, but it didn't work. She said she zipped her back up in the suitcase and threw it in the pond. She denied all the sexual assault allegations profusely, but they finally arrested her anyway. And the Cantus, like Sandra's family, they were so heartbroken and betrayed. I mean, they were like friends, and their kids were best friends. The rolling pin DNA finally came back, and it was a match for DNA for Sandra.
Poor thing.
So they think that was what she used.
Do they know if she was abused before or after death?
They didn't say. There wasn't a way to tell, because she was in there for 11 days when they found her. So
yeah.
Sandra and the Cantus were not members of the church where Melissa's grandfather and Melissa worked, and Sandra had never been in that building. So there's no way that her DNA would have gotten on a rolling pin in the church kitchen.
Right.
When searching through Melissa's computer, they found an article that she had read about a young child that had been murdered by her own grandfather, then put into a suitcase and thrown into a river. So here's the timeline that the cops put together. Sandra was walking in the trailer park to the friend's house, and Melissa's like, hey, you want to come help decorate my church room? And Sandra helps everyone, and she's like, yeah, I'll go do that. And then Melissa gave Sandra a drink laced with the pills, and she passed out at the church. Melissa called the manager at 5 p.m. for the trailer park, saying her suitcase was stolen, to establish a timeline. Around 6 o'clock.
So stupid.
At 6 o'clock is when she was seen at the pond. So like 2 hours, all this shit unfolded. Like, that seems quick.
So she had the suitcase at the church. So she had this planned.
She did.
Mm.
Yep. It had to be.
So she stopped. This motherfucker
Yeah.
read an article, tried to plan it, and did this poorly at it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not even enough to wash off a piece of evidence that she then left
where she
plain
works.
sight.
Yeah.
And then tied the suitcase with a string that was specific to her. Okay.
And left the notebook paper in her nightstand. And then
also in her car.
The note in her car.
And then also,
told the code. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So she could have just not said anything, and her body would have taken 11 days, and it wouldn't have ran back to her. If she wouldn't have written it,
would have been real hard to get her.
Well, if it wasn't, a lot harder.
To connect her to it.
You know what? No, it wouldn't have. Because the second they would have found the suitcase, they would have looked at her job, and they would have found the other 2 items.
Yeah, they would have known.
But it usually helps when you have a handwritten letter.
Right.
Motherfucker.
Yeah, the handwriting expert said that she clearly tried to disguise it with the changing her handwriting too, which is why she had the notebook paper practicing to spell the words wrong she was clearly trying to write like somebody else.
You know what would have been wild? Just printing it on a piece of paper.
Wild, her not fucking doing it could be a fucking psycho too.
And then just saying a random note was found on the ground.
Yeah. At the vigil. Like, you had to do it at the vigil.
This person's stupid. This
and
person is
an
so dumb.
asshole.
I'm just hoping that she fell asleep.
Mm-hmm. That's me too.
Because we still don't know how she died, do we?
No, they don't. They didn't say. They think it was asphyxiation, but there was a spot on her lip, so they think maybe she shoved something on her face.
Oh, okay.
But they
so
said
it wasn't
also
drowning.
could have happened. No, they don't think so, but there's no way to tell.
The other is.
Oh, like
There would have been water in her body.
Yeah, but
in
I
her
mean,
lungs.
she was kind of decomposed, so I don't know.
100% you can tell if somebody drowned.
Okay.
Because there would have been water in her lungs.
Yeah,
and
that's
there wouldn't
true.
be if you're dead.
That's true.
Because there's no.
Well, they didn't mention anything of the drowning.
Yeah. So it would have had to have been.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh.
That would be the lesser of the evils. She's so fucking. I hate this bitch. I hate Melissa. Okay. On April 10th, 2009, Melissa took a plea bargain and pled guilty to first-degree murder and kidnapping to avoid the death penalty. She received life in prison, but luckily she doesn't have the possibility of parole. After her sentencing, Melissa made a statement, and I quote, "I still cannot fully understand why I did what I did. This is a question I will struggle with the rest of my life." So one question, like, why the fuck did she do it? The cops think it was for attention and jealousy, because she would never say why. When she inserted herself into the case 2 times prior to her arrest, like, hey, look at me, I'm important. Like, they think that was her wanting attention, like, for it. But the jealousy part I don't really get, and I couldn't find much on their theory about why.
Was her daughter, and she had a daughter or no?
Yeah,
she did.
Her
so
daughter
maybe
was 5.
her daughter wasn't as pretty.
I don't know.
Maybe her daughter wasn't as popular.
Yeah.
Maybe she didn't get the same kind of attention. Maybe she was jealous of the family unit that was
Maybe.
her family.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of things to be jealous about.
But the sexual assault,
that
I don't understand.
That is what I don't understand.
No one would touch it. No one would talk, like they would. There's no theories I read about it. I mean, my only thought just from everything that we've read is maybe it happened to her.
But if she had tried to do this to another, I think what she did with the other kid is she took the kid. Who fucking cares what I think? But I mean, you guys, if you're listening to this podcast, but I think she tested the benzo and how it would react on that other kid. Because she could get away with it. It was a scenario that she could get away with. And she could see how the child reacted, the dosage to the body weight, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So I'm curious if she had brought this little kid into the church and killed her in the church, because that's obviously what she did. Maybe in her delusion that because she's obviously dumb, I wonder if she thought by inserting something vaginally that it would then look like a rape scenario and make them think that it was a guy.
Maybe, because they
which would make a lot more sense.
Yeah, they sure do.
So I kind of wonder if that's why she maybe was a little lazier on other aspects, because she was like, they're going to think it was a guy.
That makes so much sense.
So maybe that's why.
Yeah.
Or a lot of people do fucked up shit to corpses at the end. Like,
I don't know. She's obviously whacked. I mean, she did the other stuff too. I don't know.
My only thought is that she thought that if she broke the hymen that she could make it look like a guy did it.
Yeah.
Because she would have been too young for her period or any of that jazz.
Yeah.
So maybe that was her way to derail.
I didn't think about it that way.
And she had to have disconnected so much that she didn't even think to get rid of the rolling pin or clean it off, which makes me think there's a psychological issue in there.
She was abusing her pills apparently too. Some wires were
that
crossed.
she had to have been fully disconnected to the body at that point.
Yeah.
To then not think anything of it. She didn't keep it. She didn't bring it home with her, which meant there was really not much of a sexual attraction to it. Nothing of the child was brought back. I don't know where the clothing switch happened.
She took her clothes off and put them back on.
Yeah. Oh, the same clothes back on.
Yeah.
How did they find that out?
They knew what she was wearing before. So like,
but you said she took off the clothes and put the same clothes back on, or a new outfit?
It was the same clothes. They found her in the clothes she disappeared in. They think that she, like, just based on how they were put on or something, they made the assumption. There's a lot of assumptions that were made.
Yeah, because I'm like, how would you even, unless maybe we say that and like the shirt was inside out.
Yeah, they said
that could have been something like that.
Yeah, they kind of skimmed over it, but yeah, my only thought too is that, like, you know, I never thought about it from your perspective where you said that she could be testing that on the other girl. Because I thought that maybe if she would have had charges pressed on her the first time, that, you know, maybe Sandra
She
would
talked
still be
herself-
alive.
She was able to talk herself out of the situation. So if she was able to get away with it, it gave her a false sense of
that too.
invisibility.
Yep.
And then no one will believe that she did it. So all I need to do is make it look like a guy.
Yeah.
Say that my suitcase was stolen. They'll never look at me. Why would they?
Yeah. That's the messed up story. The murder of Sandra Cantu by the Sunday school teacher, Melissa Huckaby.
Who the fuck, man?
That bitch is still in jail. And I hope it hurts.
That's crazy.
Yeah. All of it's crazy.
That's one of those hidden in plain sight motherfuckers.
Yeah. Especially like a few doors down too. It's wild.
I just can't believe it took 11 days and she had planned it and thought about it and still never got rid of the string.
Yeah.
Took the Post-it note out of her car.
Yeah.
In the rare thought that maybe the cops would look.
Well, that is the case because like they looked in her car like then. So like she did that. Like the stupid part is that she wrote the note and then left the part of the note in her fucking car the same time when she went and told them.
That's what I'm saying.
All
like,
this as well.
There's a very small, like number one, it is hard to kill somebody or it's easy to kill an unsuspecting person. We all know that. Someone who trusts you. Mm. But there's to me, a 5-point checklist, if you will.
Right.
When you do it, don't be seen disposing the body. Don't use anything of yours. Don't leave clues around your car and your fucking place of employment. Clean off things.
Yeah, all this is whacked.
Like, don't bring attention to you, just like Jodi Arias did. The second that he was dead, she called the cops.
Yep.
They fucking know that. You don't call. You do not call.
Yep. You know what else you don't do? Kill people, you fucking psychos.
Right? You stupid motherfuckers. Stop killing people.
Yeah.
Fuck, I'll be okay if we can't have this podcast anymore. We'll just talk about colds. Hopefully nobody's killing people in colds. You know? Like, what the fuck?
Yeah. I don't know.
I hate fuckers, man. They piss me off. Yeah. Speaking of people pissing me off, I think we're going to take a breather.
After our next one.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to take a couple of weeks off.
I'm letting you guys know that we may not have a right after Christmas one.
We can post some replays.
Yeah. I was looking at the calendar too. I was like, Heather's the one that actually has plans for like New Year's and stuff. But I'm like, we might be able to get another one in.
You think so?
I think we might just miss the Christmas week, but I think we'll be able to do a New Year's week.
Look at you believing in us.
I mean, I got nothing else. I don't stop believing.
Don't stop believing.
Always.
Yeah. Well, I believe that I would love you guys to subscribe. You guys are doing it. Y'all are doing it. It doesn't cost anything.
Yeah.
It helps us out. It helps you girls out. That's all you got to do.
It brings us joy.
And it does. I love seeing that number go up.
Me too.
So
unlike the scale. Ladies, am I right? All right. Well, we love you so much. Thank you. I hope you have a very nice night.
Yes. Love you. Bye.
Love you. Bye. Theodore, can I pet that dog?